When I was kidnapped, Ningbing was watching the sunrise with her new lover. Leave him there. There's no rush to rescue him. Teach him to behave. Tell him to stop bothering me. Good. So, to stay alive, I had no choice but to hug my kidnapper. Ma'am, I'll be obedient. I won't fight back. Later, Ningbing finally thought to come rescue me. But by then, the woman holding me laughed in anger. She looked down at me, fast asleep in her arms. He's exhausted. He may not have the strength to go with you. Inside the dilapidated warehouse, Ningbing was on the other end of the phone, her face full of disgust. Fang Yuan, the ways you keep pestering me are getting more creative by the day. Yesterday, you egged my mother on to pressure me into marriage. And when that failed, you came up with this today. Put on whatever act you want. Just don't interrupt my sunrise with my darling. I panicked. I frantically shook my head and explained. Ningbing, I'm not pretending. I don't know why Annie suddenly contacted the media to announce our engagement. Please, believe me just this once. Come rescue me. Please. Ningbing scoffed. Rescue you? Fine. 50 million, right? I'll pay it. Hearing that, Sister Eagle immediately stated her terms. 5 hours from now. Cash on delivery. Ningbing cut her off. You can keep him. As for the money, consider it payment for your trouble. Sister Eagle glanced at me in disbelief. Are you serious? Of course. As long as you dare touch him, I'll dare to pay. Hearing this, I was deeply disappointed, but I still refused to give up. I shouted into the phone. Ningbing, I really was kidnapped by bad people. If you come rescue me, I'll never pester you again. But what came from the other end of the phone was an unfamiliar man's voice. Sister Ningbing, the sunrise. Before the man could finish, I guessed what was about to happen there. So I closed my eyes in despair and completely gave up struggling. Sure enough, the next second, the call was disconnected. I sat on the floor, staring at the watch on my wrist, and forced a bitter smile. It was the only thing Ningbing had ever given me. So promises made in childhood really meant nothing. Ningbing had once sworn that she would marry me, but after we grew up, she became a completely different person. Just then, one of the henchmen scratched his head and looked at Sister Eagle. Sister Eagle, does Ningbing want to rescue him or not? Sister Eagle heard him and ground her teeth viciously. Who cares what she means? This man is the fiancé Ningbing's family acknowledged yesterday. Once we force him to sign this agreement, Ningbing won't dare withhold the money. As she spoke, she pulled a bottle from her bag and sprayed me with it. Before long, my vision began to blur. Seeing the change in me, Sister Eagle smiled, then pulled a document from her bag and tossed it to the henchman. Enough talking. Make him sign. Sister Eagle, Ningbing isn't in any hurry to rescue him, but I'm worried that if this takes too long, Miss finds out. So, what if she does? If she really discovers us, we'll hand this kid over to her. Her methods of dealing with people are far more effective than ours. However, just as she grabbed my hand to press my fingerprint onto the paper, the door suddenly flew open. Then, a woman accompanied by several bodyguards stormed in. Is that so? Why don't you try today? How I deal with people. The henchman shuddered. Then his legs gave way, and he collapsed onto the floor. Shang, Miss Shang. Seeing this, Sister Eagle's face turned deathly pale. She hurriedly pointed at me. Miss, we were just about to force him to sign an agreement to send that Ningbing a warning. The woman frowned and glanced at me. Then she walked over and crouched before me. She pulled a pair of scissors from her pocket. This might hurt. Bear with it. I'll send you on your way. Fear jolted me awake for a moment. By instinct, desperate to survive. Don't do this. I want to live for at least 2 more years. How much? I'll find a way to pay. The woman first glanced at the hand I was clutching, then raised an eyebrow. Why do you want to live 2 more years? I'm not married yet. I don't have a wife. I don't want to die alone like this. The woman paused, then smiled. But before she could speak, I leaned my whole body against her. Perhaps the spray had finally taken effect. I was barely conscious, and ignoring the woman's shocked expression, leaned right beside her ear. I'll be obedient. I'll do whatever you tell me. Please, spare me. I'm still useful. The farther I got, the softer my voice became, until I could barely keep my eyes open. Seeing me like this, the woman swallowed hard, trying to restrain herself. Fang Yuan, I'm warning you. You can still change your mind. I can let you leave. But if you stay with me, there's no turning back. I won't regret it. Good. Remember my name. I'm Shang Xinci. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Ningbing was leaning in a man's arms. The man lowered his head and moved in, but Ningbing turned away and dodged him. She looked at the phone on the table, which hadn't rung once since earlier, and frowned. On a lounge chair nearby, her friend Yuan watched her reaction and couldn't help saying, "You've checked your phone more than 20 times in 4 hours. Is that really necessary? If you're truly worried about him, go check on him." Ningbing shook her head. Yuan sighed helplessly. Back then, you said you wanted to marry him and led him on. Then, once you grew up, you turned cold and cast him aside. Over the years, you've changed male companions nonstop. Your mother is understandably worried and wants to use the media to pressure you into settling down and getting married. That's perfectly normal. Fang Yuan, may not have put her up to it. I'm warning you, people's hearts can grow cold. Don't regret it when it's too late. Bai Ningbing scoffed. She raised a glass of wine. I won't regret anything. Tying your entire life to one person is far too boring. I can't wait for him to leave. Hearing this, Liu Ryan frowned. She wanted to say more, but Bai Ningbing pulled the man to his feet and walked into the partying crowd on the beach. Seeing this, Liu Ryan cursed inwardly. Ugh, what a heartless woman. However, just then, the phone on the table suddenly rang. Liu Ryan glanced at it and saw that the caller was Bai Ningbing's assistant. She got up and called Bai Ningbing back. When she returned the call, the assistant immediately began reporting. Boss Bai, someone just sent an express delivery to the company, saying it was for you. The sender is Mr. Fang. Bai Ningbing gave a disdainful, cold laugh. What gift did he send? The assistant hesitated, then said awkwardly, it was a watch. It looks like the one Mr. Fang always wears. Bai Ningbing's pupils suddenly contracted. Say that again. What did you say it was? The assistant quickly sent over a photo of the watch. Bai Ningbing recognized it at a glance. It was from years ago, when she confessed to me. The watch she gave me, I had always treasured it and worn it on my wrist, but now, I had sent it back. What was that supposed to mean? At that thought, Bai Ningbing was furious. She quickly typed, your little self-directed act has fallen apart. Are you trying to threaten me with this push and pull routine again? Fang Yuan, think carefully. Once you've returned the watch, you and I will truly be even. But after she sent the message, there was no reply for a long time. Bai Ningbing held onto her phone and waited anxiously. Eventually, an inexplicable irritation began to churn inside her. She instinctively scrolled upward. A moment later, she relaxed. What nonsense. I scared myself for nothing. After all, these chat records alone were enough to prove that I couldn't possibly not love her. So, Bai Ningbing switched off her phone without hesitation, then turned back and nestled into the man's arms. The next day, when I opened my eyes, I found myself in a strange, empty room. I immediately realized what had happened yesterday hadn't been a dream. Thinking about last night, I covered my face and sighed. I actually slept with a stranger. Wait, where is that woman? At that thought, I shot to my feet and searched the room after getting out of bed. When it seemed she really wasn't there, I suddenly got the idea to sneak away. However, just as I quietly crept toward the front door downstairs, I heard Shang Xinci's voice. I turned around and saw her holding her phone as she let out an impatient snort. Don't forget, the Shang group answers to me now. As for them, even if I handle this by the rules, you'd better not make a fuss. With that, without waiting for a response, Shang Xinci hung up. After setting down her phone, she spotted me standing blankly by the door and immediately put on a smile. You spent the night with me, and now you want to run. I jolted in fright and shook my head repeatedly. I wasn't trying to run. At that moment, I suddenly remembered Shang Xinci's identity. Her family was one of Jingxi's top business families, which had only recently reinvented itself. After provoking a woman like her, I could forget about running away. Obedience was the only way to stay alive. As I thought this, Shang Xinci raised an eyebrow and advanced toward me. Step by step, she backed me against the door until I had nowhere left to retreat. She leaned close to my ear. There are bodyguards all over my doorstep. You'd better think carefully. I forced out a strained smile and explained. My parents both work in scientific research. They spend most of the year in remote mountains with no signal. For them to realize I'm missing and come pay my ransom could take a long time. Shang Xinci paused briefly, then actually burst out laughing. Don't worry, now that you're with me, you'll never be short of money. I've never been with anyone. I don't know how this works. Do I need to stay here all the time? However, before I could finish speaking, I suddenly found myself being kissed. Several minutes later, she finally let me go. Do you know how to date? Then we'll follow the usual dating process. Hearing this, I froze in place. Date? Seriously. 3 days later, Bai Ningbing finally turned on her phone. 3 days of partying had made Bai Ningbing lose herself in the moment. She even had to dig her phone out from between the sofa cushions. The moment she turned it on, a string of notification sounds rang out. Hearing them, she leaned back against the sofa and sneered. So many messages. She guessed they were all from me. It had always been this way. I used to send her every little thing. She figured I'd flooded her screen with another batch of long-winded messages. A short while later, the notification sounds finally stopped. Bai Ningbing unhurriedly opened the screen. However, just as she was about to read the messages, a call suddenly came in. Seeing that the caller was actually her mother, Bai Ningbing frowned and sneered again. Fang Yuan, since I ignored you, you brought my mother in as your negotiator. I'll see what trick you have up your sleeve this time. With that, she answered the call. She had just opened her mouth when her mother asked first, Sweetheart, can you you reach Fang Yuan? Why hasn't he replied to my messages in 3 days? Did something happen? Hearing this, Ningbing sprang to her feet. Mom, what did you say? You can't reach Fang Yuan. You've had enough fun, haven't you? After hanging up, Ningbing immediately called me. The call connected quickly, but what she heard was a woman's voice. At the sound of it, Ningbing's face instantly stiffened. She glanced at the time on her phone. It was 3 in the morning. A woman had answered the phone. Those facts combined into one horrifying conclusion. I really had been kidnapped. Realizing this, Ningbing suddenly clenched her fist. Where's Fang Yuan? Put him on the phone. Give me the address. I'll come ransom him right now. You haven't heard him, have you? On the other end, Xinci replied with a smile. Let's leave it for today. Fang Yuan is exhausted. He may not even have the strength to leave with you. Hearing this, Ningbing was furious and roared into the phone. Who gave you permission to touch him? Didn't I say I'd pay you? Ningbing had always believed I was her plaything to do with as she pleased. She could lose interest in me, but she would never allow anyone else to take me. Now, not only had the woman on the other end taken away her toy, she was shamelessly flaunting it in her face. It was as if she didn't take Ningbing seriously at all. Yet in the face of Ningbing's roar, Xinci merely chuckled mockingly. Compared with Xinci, Ningbing wasn't even worthy of comparison. When she saw that the other woman remained unmoved, Ningbing took a breath, forcing down her anger, then slowly asked, how do I pay to get him back? Xinci glanced at me, sleeping soundly from exhaustion beside her, then said into the phone, 50 million. Just transfer it to his account. So the next morning, I learned that I had been ransomed. Xinci sat before the vanity and handed me my phone. It came back last night. It's been repaired. I also answered a call from your ex. I got you 50 million in spending money. My eyes widened. 50 million in spending money. Xinci smiled and nodded. Then, I took the phone from her, utterly bewildered. Then I froze. There were hundreds of missed calls on the phone, all from Ningbing. Seeing my expression, Xinci smiled again. Maybe I'm just good at conversation. She looked like she wasn't finished yet. I twitched the corner of my mouth at that. You call that still wanting more? After finishing her makeup, Xinci turned and walked over, then kissed my cheek. All right, I'm leaving. When you get back, say hello to your ex for me. I secretly praised her generosity, but then she added, but if you dare rekindle your old feelings, you know what will happen. With that, Xinci left the room with a smile. I leaned against the bed and stared at the ceiling, speechless. Are all women this fickle? Afterward, I didn't go straight home. Instead, I took a taxi to Ningbing's mother's house. The moment she saw me, Aunt Bai's eyes reddened as she took my hand, her face full of guilt. Fang Yuan, as long as you're safe and home, that's all that matters. Ningbing sat on the sofa across from us, staring at me, without saying a word. After Aunt Bai called her twice without getting a response, she stopped trying to get her attention. Instead, she turned to me, wiped away her tears, and apologized. Fang Yuan, it's all my fault. I didn't think things through. I was only thinking of forcing Ningbing to marry you quickly. I never imagined it would lead to you being kidnapped. Thankfully, they only wanted money. If they had really hurt you, how would I explain it to your parents? I was about to say that I was fine when Ningbing suddenly stood up. She grabbed me, and before I could react, I found myself being dragged upstairs. I struggled with all my strength, but couldn't break free. I had no idea where Ningbing got that kind of strength, so I hurriedly said, Ningbing, let go of me. But Ningbing ignored me completely and dragged me into the bathroom. I was startled and looked at her. Ningbing, what are you doing? I'm taking you to shower. I was completely baffled. I hurriedly tried to shake her off and leave, but Ningbing yanked me back. I couldn't help shouting, Ningbing, are you insane? But she fixed me with an intense stare. Where is she? I froze at that. Who are you talking about? Ningbing's eyes burned with anger as she said, the woman who answered the phone last night. Hearing that, I immediately understood. So she meant Xinci. With that in mind, I took advantage of her distraction and pulled free of her grip. I looked at her calmly. Is it possible that she was the one who rescued me, not my kidnapper? At my words, Ningbing laughed in fury and ground out, rescued you? Does anyone rescue someone like that? I looked at her and scoffed. Then how should she have rescued me? Is it really that hard to figure out? I was kidnapped, not on vacation. The fact that I wasn't tortured half to death is already something I should be grateful for. At that thought, I secretly felt relieved. Thank goodness Xinci was the one who rescued me. Hearing me say that, Ningbing stood frozen for several seconds. When she finally came to her senses, the anger in her eyes had already shattered and was replaced by helplessness. I didn't know it was real. I thought you were putting on an act. I thought you hired them to pressure me into marrying you. If I had known. Faced with Ningbing's words, I let out a cold laugh and quickly cut her off. Weren't you the one who offered 50 million as a thank you payment because of that one sentence of yours? I learned a painful lesson. If I hadn't been rescued, I'd probably be forced to sign countless unfair agreements by now. Ningbing, As you wish. I won't bother you ever again. My cold words, left by Ningbing completely stunned. She hadn't expected me to say something like that. After a long silence, she finally parted her lips with difficulty. Fang Yuan, forget that incident. Forget that woman. Just pretend none of it ever happened. If you want to marry me, fine. But aside from love and fidelity, I can give you everything else. The moment she said that, I wondered if I was hearing things. What Bai Ningbing had just said wasn't something any decent person would say. Sure enough, Bai Ningbing couldn't change her heartless ways. She seemed to have forgotten that she was the one who pursued me first, and after winning me over, she was the one who pushed me away. Now, she wanted me crawling back to her, begging for scraps, as if life could be that convenient for her. Thinking of this, I smiled and looked at her calmly. I think I'll pass. You can keep pursuing your carefree life. I won't bother you anymore. I meant every word. But Bai Ningbing was deeply displeased. She let out a cold laugh. That sounds nice. You won't bother me. Can you really do that? If you can't, don't force yourself. I never said you had to disappear from my world. I simply can't give you love. At her words, I looked at her, my gaze still calm, and nodded firmly. Bai Ningbing, I can do it. Because I'm tired. Bai Ningbing narrowed her eyes and stared at me for several seconds. She was certain I'd end up eating my words. After that, I put as much distance between myself and Bai Ningbing as possible. I stopped paying attention to her. Even her friends' gatherings, I stopped attending. During that time, Aunt Bai noticed that I was keeping my distance. She messaged me several times, but after a few attempts, she understood my attitude. So she stopped trying to push Bai Ningbing and me together. A little over a month later, on Christmas Day, Liu Ryan suddenly came to my pottery studio. Fang Yuan, are you serious this time? Are you really done with that self-destructive heartbreaker? Hearing Liu Ryan's words, I looked up and glanced at her teasingly. Why aren't you at home with your husband? What are you doing here? Aren't you afraid the husband you work so hard to win back will run off again? Liu Ryan's smile instantly vanished. She casually picked up a small ball of clay and tossed it lightly at me. I calmly shifted to the side and wasn't hit. Seeing me dodge it, Liu Ryan put her hands on her hips and glared at me unhappily. I came to check on my little brother, but all you want to do is twist the knife. I chuckled, then said, Ryan, you came here today for something, didn't you? Liu Ryan handed me an invitation. It's my 3rd wedding anniversary with my husband. Ningbing will definitely be there. It's up to you. I'll understand if you don't come. With that, Liu Ryan set down the invitation and turned toward the door. But just as she reached the doorway, she stopped again. Fang Yuan, Ningbing really does have feelings for you. For the past month, she's looked carefree, but in reality, she often stares blankly at her phone, waiting for a message from you. I'm not trying to speak for her. I just can't bear to see your years of devotion go to waste. So I thought I'd mention it. Whatever you decide, I'll support you. If you want to start over, I can introduce you to someone new right away. Her words sounded convincing, but they stirred nothing in me. I was about to make a sarcastic remark. Just then, when the shop door was suddenly pulled open from outside, it was Shang Xinci. She looked at Liu Ryan and said calmly, Excuse me. Please move. Liu Ryan froze, then quickly came to her senses and hurriedly stepped aside. Shang Xinci walked in. When I saw her, I turned to Liu Ryan. Ryan, you should head home first. See you later. Liu Ryan gave Shang Xinci and me a suspicious look, then nodded and left. After Liu Ryan left, I turned to Shang Xinci. What brings you here? Shang Xinci didn't answer right away. Instead, she came forward and threw her arms around me, then planted a kiss on my cheek. I missed my boyfriend, so I came to see you. I froze. I immediately pushed Shang Xinci away gently, then stole a glance at the classroom next door. When I saw that no one was paying attention, I quickly said, There are still people inside. Don't let them see us. Shang Xinci raised an eyebrow and said boldly, As your secret girlfriend, secretly kissing you is the bare minimum. That way, I won't interrupt your sister while she introduces you to someone new. Hearing this, how could I not understand? Shang Xinci had clearly heard what Liu Ryan said and was jealous. Shang Xinci and I had actually been openly dating for over a month. We'd simply been avoiding Bai Ningbing lately, so we saw fewer people and hardly anyone knew. At 6 o'clock, I entered the classroom and dismissed the class. After all the students had left, Shang Xinci hugged me from behind again and leaned close to my ear. The mood is perfect. So how about a secret date? Boyfriend. I tugged helplessly at the corner of my mouth. This woman was never going to stop, but I had no intention of refusing. So, Shang Xinci and I left the pottery studio. At 10 that night, while Liu Ryan was scrolling through her phone, she finally remembered who Shang Xinci was. Shang Xinci, 25 years old, the Shang group's youngest heir. The day she took over, she announced she would overturn the course her father had set. Then, through her own efforts. In just 6 months, she built the Shang Group from scratch into one of Jing City's top 15 companies. How could someone like that possibly show up at Fang Yuan's little pottery studio? She couldn't possibly have come to learn pottery, could she? However, just as Liu Ryan was utterly baffled, the group chat she was in suddenly became lively. Oh my god, Fang Yuan has gone public. Is it with Bai Ningbing? No, Ningbing was with me all last night. She stared at her phone all night, waiting for whose message? Someone quietly typed in the group. Could she have been waiting for Fang Yuan? As soon as those words appeared, the group chat fell completely silent. After reading the messages, Ryan remembered the woman she'd seen at the pottery studio and sighed. That self-destructive, toxic woman had finally ruined herself. The day after Christmas, I left Xinci's home. Instead of going straight home, I stopped by the mall. When I returned home with the gifts I bought, I had barely stepped out of the elevator when I was suddenly pinned hard against the wall by Ningbing, who appeared out of nowhere. I desperately shoved her away, but she lunged at me again. With no other choice, I slammed my fist into her stomach. The punch struck by Ningbing, and she doubled over, clutching her stomach in pain. I didn't dare linger for a second and ran immediately, but I had barely a step. When she grabbed me, I looked back and saw Bai Ningbing gripping me tightly as she shouted angrily, "Fang Yuan, why are you running?" I immediately swung my arm and sent the gift boxes in my hands at her head. "Are you out of your mind?" Bai Ningbing dodged my attack, her eyes locked on my hands. "Where did you go last night? Why didn't you come home?" At that, I let out a cold laugh. "Miss Bai, where I went last night is none of your business." Hearing my deliberately distant form of address, Bai Ningbing's body trembled violently. Who is she? I only looked at her silently, without answering. Seeing this, Bai Ningbing's face instantly turned deathly pale. Her body swayed slightly. Then she steadied herself against the wall and slowly said, "Did she force you?" I calmly shook my head. "No, we just got together." Bai Ningbing closed her eyes, concealing the despair rising in her heart. Then, still unwilling to give up, she looked up at me. "Fang Yuan, you win. All this time, I've missed you terribly. Didn't you want to be with me? Then let's be together. Break things off with her, and I'll pretend none of this ever happened." Hearing this, I immediately understood. Bai Ningbing had once again mistaken my announcement about Shang, Xinci, and me last night for an attempt to provoke her. "Bai Ningbing, you really haven't changed at all." Thinking of this, I shook my head and said, "Bai Ningbing, I'm not like you. I know exactly how I feel. When I like someone, I pursue them openly and honestly. I wouldn't be childish enough to use someone else, to play games with my feelings and call it winning or losing." Hearing this, Bai Ningbing's face turned deathly pale. Her eyes grew red-rimmed, and she forced an ugly smile. "Impossible. You loved me so much. How could you fall for someone else in such a short time?" I gave her a mocking smile, a crush from our youth. How could it ever be taken seriously? With that, I didn't want to drag this out any longer. I intended to open the door and go home. However, Bai Ningbing lunged at me again and hugged me from behind. "Then can't I start loving you again from now on? This time, I'll be the one to pursue you." I turned around and shoved her away with all my strength. She fell heavily to the ground. Her hair was disheveled, and she actually began to cry. I looked down at her on the floor, my expression calm. "Bai Ningbing, if you'd known this would happen, then why did you do it in the first place? You want to start over now, but it's too late." Hearing my cold words, Bai Ningbing looked up through tear-filled eyes. "Fang Yuan, back then, I simply hadn't fallen in love with you yet. Or rather, I hadn't realized that I loved you." I could see the bitterness in her eyes, but I couldn't be bothered to look any longer. At the elevator, Shang Xinci was standing there, though I hadn't noticed when she arrived. Leaning against the wall, she watched the scene. She let out a derisive laugh and stepped forward. Then she said, "How could an adult fail to understand what they want? You were simply pretending not to know, convinced you could get away with anything. That excuse about loving someone without realizing it is usually what fools use to hide their own insatiable greed." Bai Ningbing's eyes shrank when she saw Shang Xinqi's face. In sudden shock, she had clearly recognized her at once. She narrowed her eyes. "So it's you." Shang Xinci curled her lips and took a step forward. "Hello, Ms. X, now that you've lost him, you regret it." Bai Ningbing's expression darkened instantly. Shang Xinci ignored her and glanced at the gift boxes scattered across the floor. Finally, she looked up at me with a playful smile. "Are all these gifts for me?" I deliberately shook my head. "No." Shang Xinci walked over to me and casually straightened my collar. Then I guess I was getting ahead of myself. I rolled my eyes at her, picked up all the gift boxes, and pulled her inside by the wrist. A disappointed murmur came from behind me. "You never used to treat me like this." I didn't turn around, but I knew without looking back that she had seen the new watch on my wrist. It wasn't the one she'd given me anymore. I'd worn it for a long time and refused to replace it. But now, I'd replaced it with the one Xinci bought me. Her chest must have felt painfully tight, just as I had when she once left me waiting for her reply. But what did that have to do with me? I calmly closed the door. After getting Xinci's agreement, I finally attended the banquet hosted by Liu Ryan and her husband. The moment we got out of the car, Xinci and I drew everyone's attention. When Liu Ryan saw us, she immediately greeted us with a bright smile. "Hello, Xinci. You look even more beautiful than last time." Xinci shook her hand, smiling just as warmly. "Right, I knew I was beautiful. The day Fang Yuan publicly announced that I was his girlfriend, I was so happy that I couldn't sleep all night. I couldn't help covering my face when I heard that." Xinci, you really know how to make conversation and hold a grudge. Liu Ryan probably didn't realize that Xinci's words were clearly aimed at what she had said on Christmas Day. Guests continued to arrive, and the banquet gradually grew livelier. Given Xinci's status, even if she wanted to avoid socializing, she couldn't avoid being pulled into conversations. I found a quiet corner where I ate small cakes while watching Liu Ryan on stage. At that moment, Liu Ryan held her husband's hand, was sobbing like a fool. Seeing this, I felt deeply reflective too. Liu Ryan had once been just as awful as by Ningbing. Later, she pursued her husband with near-manic desperation and somehow managed to win him back. But Liu Ryan could win him back because her husband was willing to return to her. But by Ningbing, what made her think I would do the same? Suddenly, I didn't look, but I knew who it was. I had expected to see her. When I came here today, Bai Ningbing struggled to call my name. Fang Yuan. I turned around and looked at her calmly. "What is it?" Unlike that day, Bai Ningbing was dressed respectably today, but the weariness in her eyes couldn't be concealed. One look told me she'd suffered quite a lot lately. When I finally looked at her, she immediately raised her hand and showed me a photo on her phone. In the photo were a pair of brand new rings. Pointing to the rings in the photo, she pleaded, "Let's get married too." "All right, I'm sorry for realizing it so many years too late. I won't let you down again. I'll treat you well, and you'll be the only one for the rest of my life." I stared at the photo and froze for a moment. If this had happened a year ago, I probably would have been too happy to sleep. But now, I found it bitterly ironic. She always waited until I no longer needed something before placing it in front of me. I set down my fork, then reached for her phone and deleted the photo. Then, as she stared blankly, I placed the phone back in her hand. "Keeping it won't do you any good. I won't marry you. Not in this life or the next." Bai Ningbing stared at the deleted photo, her whole body going rigid. She had commissioned someone to design a truly one-of-a-kind pair of rings. Now, with one casual swipe, I'd erased them completely. But what did that matter? How many of my messages had she casually swiped past back then? Had she ever counted? Bai Ningbing swayed, her already deathly pale face turning even whiter. She spoke in a panic. "Fang Yuan, I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. I didn't know how to cherish you before. I was foolish. I'm changing. I'm pursuing you again. But you." I knew what Bai Ningbing was about to say. I had already deleted her from my contacts. I imagined that when she tried to message me and saw she'd been deleted, she probably fell apart completely, just as I had back then. Now she finally knew how it felt. As I thought this, I saw Bai Ningbing kneel before me and say, "Fang Yuan, I'm not asking you to forgive me now or accept me, but at least leave me a way forward. Please, give me a chance to make amends and pursue you again." I looked at her kneeling on the floor, but felt no pity. That path I'd already given her. I'd given it to her for a long time, but she never took it. Just then, Xinci came over and stepped in front of me, staring at her with an icy gaze. "Love that comes too late is worthless. Bai Ningbing, this is the punishment you deserve. From today on, don't show up in front of Fang Yuan and me. Otherwise, you'll end up like those two kidnappers." After she finished speaking, I glanced at Xinci, then looked down at the hand she was holding. I knew this was what I wanted. Not chasing after someone and waiting for them to turn back, but having someone stand in front of me and pull me forward with her. After Bai Ningbing had disrupted everything, Xinci and I no longer felt like staying. So, we said goodbye to Liu Ryan and left early. In the car, I watched Xinci study the GPS and asked, puzzled, "Aren't we going home?" Xinci raised her head and smiled at me. "No, I'm in a good mood today. I want to take you to the seaside to watch the sunrise." By the time we stopped by the sea, dawn was almost breaking. On the beach, I took Xinci's hand and pulled something from my pocket. It was a ring. Xinci clearly froze when she saw it. She looked down as I slipped the ring onto her ring finger. I looked at her hand and chuckled. "Yes, perfect fit." Xinci giggled. "You secretly measured it yourself, didn't you?" And then lied that it wasn't my gift. Liu Ryan's call came just as dawn was breaking. Xinci and I held hands, leaning against each other. I picked up the phone and answered. "What is it, Sis Ryan?" On the other end, Liu Ryan sounded frantic. "Fang Yuan, come check on Ningbing. She crouched by the pool and cried all night. No one can withstand that in the dead of winter, security had to carry her out. She's in the hospital now. Her fever is so high she's nearly delirious. After all, you and Ningbing grew up together. Come see her. Listening to her over the phone, I felt perfectly calm. So I said flatly, is she awake? If she's conscious, put her on. There was silence on the other end for more than 10 seconds. Then came by Ningbing's weak voice. Fang Yuan, I bought those rings. Could you at least take one look? I gently interrupted her. By Ningbing, you've come up with quite a few ways to pester me, haven't you? Stop doing these pointless things. Don't keep me from watching the sunrise with Shang Xinci. Once I'd finished, I hung up. At the hospital, the last glimmer of hope in By Ningbing's eyes was completely extinguished. She stared blankly at the ceiling. At that moment, she understood that some things could never go back to the way they were.